Hey everyone, I have with me Matt here. He's the Director for Developer Relations for Google Cloud, and he leads a global team that enables developers build innovative solutions on Google Cloud. And by the way, so I am Prashant, and I'm super excited to have Matt here with us.
We're here in India because this is a critical community for us. I often say that, outside the North America developer community, and that's the home of Google and everything else, so it's likely number one, but this is clearly number two.
What's really excites you? What's something that you want developers to pick up and start using?
There are probably three things, and I'll break down the list really simply. So the first one is, I think we're very quickly moving to a world, and a place like India, I'll jump ahead, a place like India, this makes sense to developers. Mm-hmm. So what I'm starting to get a lot of resonance around is there are only two deployment places left that are gonna matter: the edge and cloud. Nothing else matters. And people go, whoa, what about on-prem and this? They're all gone. If it's not true today, it'll be true very shortly. Edge could be mobile, could be browser, could be anything, a device, and then cloud. So that makes it very interesting from a cloud perspective. I started the talk by saying, for the audience that was in the cloud track, I said, do you know how you can tell that you are all the smartest people at this conference? And then I said, it's because you picked this track. Because cloud is the development deployment platform for all the interesting workloads going forward, AI and everything else. So that was one. The second one, which we haven't talked about as much here, although I did mention it, is that Cloud Run is quickly becoming the deployment platform of choice for AI workloads. And I want to be careful. We love Vertex. Vertex is a great enterprise platform. But if you're a developer out there building for the first time, or you're in a startup, you want to pick a platform to deploy your AI applications. That's something that can scale up, scale down, low cost, serverless in the sense that you don't have to manage all this yourself. And that's really important. I got to talk about it a little bit today. Actually, I missed out. I didn't mention earlier, I also did some analyst briefings. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the key messages to the analysts. They were talking about, hey, you have all this infrastructure and you do all these things and Google Cloud's great. And I'm like, actually, that's all wonderful. That's all wonderful. What we're really starting to talk to developers about is how you can develop and deploy quickly. So the second one is that. And the third one, which I think just comes back to the community side, we've got Gemini CLI, we've got Code Assist, we've got Firebase Studio. There are a bunch of tooling capabilities that we've provided for developers that let them go fast. And fast is everything. Prashant, I'm gonna put you on the spot for a moment because we were in one of the sessions today and you said, every week you come up with 3 or 4 more ideas of things you wanna build. In the past, you wouldn't have had time. But now with this new tooling in AI, you can actually go explore all those ideas.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, this is where we really need to consider some of these as productivity enhancers, right? And I keep telling this whenever I have these conversations, right? You're not being paid like the developers, right? Professional developers. You're not being paid to write code. You're being paid to solve business problems, right? And the sooner you can solve those problems, the more valuable you are, right? And this is why we shouldn't fear AI, right? It's really helping out. And I am enjoying this. I'm literally in the last, 5-7 years, this is the time I'm enjoying engineering.
Yeah.
Because I can see my ideas being realized, right? Quickly, a day, a couple of days, a week, and I have something that's working, I can, get people to use it.
So if I could just add on to that. So there's something at Google from an engineering perspective that we're now talking about internally, and I want to be careful. Like when you look at our biggest products, the ones that people rely on every single day, this is not how they're built. But for new things that we're building, you're actually seeing engineering change the process that you use. Before, you would plan things, you would define things, you would then write a PRD, you would then start a prototype, and then you'd start building the product. We're just reversing that entirely. We build the prototype first, before we would do the plans, before we do everything else. Because using AI, helping you build that prototype quickly gets you to the point of, is it a good idea? If it's a good idea, if it's showing potential, then go back and write the plan. Then go back and define how this thing is supposed to be, the success is gonna be measured, what the various features are gonna be. So we're always prototyping now, and that's really what you're referring to.
Absolutely, yes. I will come back to AI, but let's just talk about coding. How do you think, there's been an evolution over the last few months, right? And there's a lot of, and we launched Gemini CLI. It's something that I enjoy working with because it's open source, right? I can also hack Gemini CLI using Gemini CLI if I wanted to. But any thoughts? How do you think the industry is shaping up? What can developers look forward to, and how can they keep up with this trend, or keep themselves relevant in this world?
It's a great question. Matter of fact, I was reading, for those of you out there, there's a community out there related to Y Combinator, which is the most popular accelerator in the United States for startups. They have their own essentially news feeds called Hacker News. And I was reading that today because somebody put Gemini CLI into Emacs.
Okay.
Now, one, why is anybody using Emacs anymore? I don't know. But the idea was that they were putting Gemini CLI and suddenly you put AI into a very old code editor that a lot of people use as an environment. And it was an interesting read to see. Some people said, this is a great hack. Other people said, why would you ever do this? But the fact is you can. And so one of the reasons why I love Gemini CLI is it was designed first to be a utility that developers would be comfortable with. Every developer that has taken any computer science will be comfortable with a command line. And so the Gemini command line interface is a way for you to kind of integrate that AI capability in all your coding exercises, all your coding methods, all your coding tooling. And then it goes beyond coding, right? You can ask Gemini CLI, where should you go to lunch for today? I'm not sure that's a great feature, but it's an interesting one. You don't have to leave the interface. I think coding has changed, so I'll get to the direct answer to your question. I think coding has changed. We're seeing people vibe code a lot more, and a lot of people are saying, oh, vibe coding is going to go away. I don't think the idea of prompting an AI for the start of your idea is brilliant, because the hardest part on any coding project is getting started. It's not going to finish it for you. You're going to have to get into the code eventually. I'm okay with that. But if it helps me with that first 20, 30%, that's a huge win.
Yep, absolutely, yeah. So, I mean, ADK, Agent Development Kit.
Yep.
We were in the world, the era of AI 6-7 months back. Now we're already in the era of agents, and we're talking about agents. What's your take on agents? What do you think is the future for agents? Again, how can developers keep up with this trend of agents? What do they need to be doing?
So I think it's great. So I'll share. So I have a son who's at university studying computer science, entering his 3rd year at university, and he asked me exactly the same question. And I said, okay, the first thing you go do is go play with agents that are already made. So we have places that you can actually go find the agents and then start building your own. And the ADK is a great place to start building agents. Then you can deploy them. And then you can even do agent-to-agent interface. And we can talk about, well, how do you get access to the services that may sit out on the web? There are a ton of MCP servers now out there that agents can interact with. So I can go ask, my favorite airline for what are all the flights below this cost on a Thursday afternoon going somewhere warm, for example.
Right.
That's something I could send an agent out to do now, and I'll get back an answer. We're still very early. Lots of agents being produced. I think agent-to-agent protocols can be very important. I think the methodology to build agents is going to get very interesting. And then I would just say, it's going to sound a little bit like a commercial, nobody's going to want to run an agent in an insecure environment. And so when you look at Google Cloud, one of the things that we've done is we've created probably the most secure environment for agent execution, for development and deployment. And to me, that's really what's going to allow this to take off. If you're running agents in an insecure environment, nobody's going to want to use them. So that for me is where we're headed now. People always ask, what's next? I don't know what's next, but I think we're in for a couple of years of heavy agentic frameworks and development.
Awesome. You mentioned this, right? You spoke about security, you spoke about Google Cloud, how we are thinking about it. What do you think, what makes us have this kind of a point of view or perspective, right? That, it's not just an AI model, right? But there's a whole ecosystem, a whole platform that we built around it. Right? So what should developers think about, and why do you think we are well positioned for this?
Yeah, it's an excellent question. And my facetious answer is because we have people like you working for us that think these things out. The reality is that Google Cloud is unique. There's no competition in the industry that starts at the chip level, builds an infrastructure, a data center infrastructure on top of that, and then a product infrastructure on top of that with developer APIs sprinkled across that. That lets us innovate at every single level. So it's no longer about, hey, are we innovating with TPUs? Of course we're innovating with TPUs. Are we innovating on our data center infrastructure? Of course we are. Are we innovating on how we maintain, manage, and share data in there? Of course we do. And then above that, we've always been developer friendly. So I would argue, and this is somewhat a little arrogant, if I was a developer and I was interested in agentic frameworks and I wanted to build for real services, I would struggle to pick any other platform but Google Cloud, knowing that we've got built-in security, built-in scalability, things like Cloud Run that lets you scale from 0 to however many GPUs you need, almost instantaneously, all built on a stack that allows you to go fast at a lower cost, which, by the way, I know a lot of developers do care about cost, but it's really their bosses that care the most. I mean, Gemini as a model is the most cost-effective model on the planet today, bar none. So I'll just stop there. I think it'd be crazy for you to build anywhere else. I'll just say it that way.
And so I've been with Google for a decade now, right? And I used to be a part of the engineering teams. What really I enjoyed about the way we do things is we use some of this tech internally to build our own products, right? And we don't build a product out, put it out there and let people use it. This is something that we have used in production, in our systems. Yep. We believe in these things, the processes, the products. And I'll be really comfortable using a framework that's coming out of Google Cloud that way.
I think it's a great call. I mean, we throw out numbers like Google is now generating through AI, through these same models that we expose, 30% of our own code that is used within our product base. Now, is that, somebody asked me today, when's it gonna be 60%? I'm like, I don't know it'll ever be 60%, but realize that 30%, tried, true, it's replacing code by some of the best engineers in the world, and that's just tremendous. So the confidence I have in the platform, the confidence I have in the services, the confidence I have in the people, I think is what makes this all worthwhile.
Awesome.
I believe the best part of my job is being able to travel around the world and see how innovation manifests itself in different places. I have always said that outside of maybe the western half of the United States, India is the most innovative place on the planet. You have an amazing it's just number of people trying to innovate, and the amount of innovation that comes from here. I was talking to the person who runs our Google Play Store for mobile, and one of the things that she reminded me is actually there are more apps created in India than any other country in the App Store.
But again, things are evolving really fast. We get a lot of questions from devs, how do I even keep up with tech, right? I'm in this learning cycle all the time, right? Trying to catch up with the latest trends. Do you have any advice for devs?
It's super hard. I would say to be a technologist today means that you have to be passionate about technology. And finding an area where you can specialize. One of the conversations I've had today with, I don't know, probably 24 people is, I'm learning this, how do I know this is gonna be good enough? And the answer is you don't. You need to wake up every morning with that little voice in the back of your head saying, am I being competitive? Am I aspiring to be one of the best, one of the most knowledgeable? The tools will help you. My advice for the community would be passionate, engage with your community. One of the most beautiful things that I think about India is and this is gonna sound like a commercial, but the GDEs, the GDGs, the developer groups and the experts, this is one of the most welcoming environments that I've ever experienced. Take advantage of that. Find people that have similar passions and explore technology.
Awesome. Thank you, Matt. Thank you so much for this. It's been great having you here talking to us about cloud, about AI, about tech, about what devs can do with this. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
It was an awesome chat.
Awesome.
Cool. Thank you. See you all.